No one we've spoken to has deeper feelings about our old ballpark than Dan Ewald, the former publicity man of the Tigers. You've seen this ballpark from many ways, as a fan, right, as a kid, and then as a baseball writer, and then from the inside, something I never saw, okay, from the inside. What do you think the reason is that so many people care about this place? It's almost like it's like passed down from generation to generation, and there is a loving feeling about a ballpark, Tiger Stadium. Why is that?
Part of it is the city itself. The city of Detroit was, at least generations ago, and I think to the present, when you're born into Detroit, you're born a Tiger fan. It's almost like being born with a name, and I often look back at the ballpark and myself, and I still maintain I was the luckiest guy in the state of Michigan because I was born right down the street from the ballpark. And my grandfather was very good to me. It was my grandparents and my mom who raised me after my dad died. And every Sunday afternoon for home games, my grandfather was a blue-collar worker, but he always saved enough money where on Sunday afternoons we'd go to the ballpark. And those were the most glorious days of my life. We'd get there real early, and I'd try and catch foul balls that were hit into the stands, and I would count them. And over the years, I only got 5, but that was 5 more than a lot of kids got. But my grandfather was very patient, and he would sit there and watch me go for the baseballs. And we really didn't care who won the ball game. We pulled for the Tigers, but we just enjoyed it. It was a place where you could come and you could celebrate being together. You wouldn't verbalize that, but you felt it. And there's a lot of feeling in that ballpark. And the beautiful thing about it is the fact that there are so many nooks and crannies to it and hidden treasures that once in a while a fan will discover one. After all the years I either covered teams there or went to the ball game as a kid or worked there, every year I'd find something new at that ballpark that I didn't know was there. And I think it was like a kid finding a toy that he didn't know he had. And it was just a great feeling.
Didn't you tell me that it was also a special feeling walking to the ballpark? How far away did you live? And I think you described to me one time about the sights of Michigan Avenue or wherever it was.
The sights were great. I lived right off of Michigan Avenue, and I lived approximately a mile from the ballpark. It was an easy walk. People walked back in those days. We had streetcars that ran right down the middle of Michigan Avenue and buses. But oftentimes we'd walk, and when my grandfather wouldn't take me to the game, I'd go down there by myself. In those days, it didn't matter if a kid went down there by himself, and I'd sneak into the park a lot of times.
How'd you sneak in?
Okay,
Come on.
All right. Back then, and I don't know if it's still being done today, but you'd look for a group of people, and you'd see like a mother and a father and maybe 6 or 7 kids, and you kind of sneak up real close to them, and as they were going through the turnstile, you would try and get just a little bit in front of them. And when you were a little bit in front of them, you'd kind of point back to the behind you, so the ticket taker would think, oh, that's his dad, he's going to give him the ticket. And then once I got in there, I used to run up those ramps as fast as I could, and I'd hide out, and it was great. But walking to the ballpark was... it was a treasure, because Michigan Avenue back in those days, I'll tell you, it was a treasure chest of colors and smells and sounds and sights. It was beautiful because you'd pass so many different things on the way there. Back then in those days, like we have Eastern Market still today, there was a Western Market there. And Western Market was very similar to Eastern, except now it gave way to the freeway that cuts in there. And you had to walk past all of the meat packing places. We call them slaughterhouses back then. And in the summertime, when they would slaughter those cows or pigs or whatever they were doing in there, that smell would come out. And you could, on a hot summer day, it would just hang in the air there, and you could smell it. But when you smelled that, you knew you were getting closer to the ballpark.